For most of human history, sleep followed a simple pattern. When the sun went down, darkness arrived. When darkness arrived, the body prepared for rest. When the sun rose again, wakefulness returned. This rhythm shaped human biology for thousands of years. Our brains evolved under the predictable cycle of day and night. Light meant activity. Darkness meant restoration. But modern life has changed that rhythm, not gradually, not subtly, but dramatically. Today, the human brain lives in an environment that rarely becomes truly dark. Artificial light fills our homes, our streets, and our screens. Phones glow late into the night. Cities remain illuminated long after sunset. Work schedules extend far beyond daylight hours, and slowly, the biological signals that once guided sleep begin to weaken. The brain's internal clock depends heavily on light. Inside the brain, a small structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus acts as the master circadian clock. This tiny cluster of neurons sits in the hypothalamus. Its job is to track time. Every morning, light entering the eyes sends signals to this clock. Those signals reset the daily rhythm. Hormones adjust. Body temperature changes. Alertness rises. As evening approaches and light fades, the brain releases melatonin. Melatonin tells the body that night has begun. Sleep pressure combines with circadian timing. The brain prepares for rest. For most of human history, this system worked with remarkable precision, but artificial light disrupts this. Communication, even moderate light exposure at night can delay melatonin production. Bright screens are particularly powerful. Phones, tablets, and computers emit blue light. Blue light closely resembles the wavelength of daylight. When the brain detects this light late at night, it interprets the signal as daytime. Melatonin release slows. Sleep timing shifts later. The brain becomes confused about when night truly begins, but light is only one part of the story. Modern life also changes how the brain experiences stress. The human stress response evolved to handle short bursts of danger, a sudden threat, a physical challenge, a moment of survival. In those situations, the sympathetic nervous system activates, heart rate increases, breathing accelerates, muscles prepare for action. Once the threat passes, the body returns to balance. But modern stress is different. Deadlines, financial pressure, social comparison, constant notifications, these stressors do not disappear quickly. They linger, and the nervous system may remain partially activated for hours, even during the evening when the body should begin preparing for sleep. This persistent activation makes it harder for the brain to shift into its restorative mode. The mind continues thinking, planning, replaying conversations. Sleep becomes delayed. Another major change in modern life is the fragmentation of time. For much of history, human schedules were shaped by natural cycles. Work followed daylight. Meals followed predictable patterns. Sleep occurred at similar times each night, but modern schedules are often irregular. Late night, work. Shift schedules, social obligations. Travel across time zones. These disruptions weaken circadian stability. The brain struggles to predict when sleep should occur. Even small irregularities can accumulate. If bedtime shifts frequently, circadian signals lose precision. Sleep may still occur, but the architecture of sleep becomes less stable. Technology also changes how the brain transitions into sleep. Before the invention of modern entertainment, evenings often contained quieter activities. Conversation. Reading. Reflection. These activities allowed the brain to gradually reduce stimulation, but modern evenings often involve intense engagement, streaming videos, scrolling social media, responding to messages. The brain remains stimulated until the moment sleep is expected. This sudden transition is difficult. Neural networks cannot instantly move from high engagement to deep rest. Sleep requires a gradual reduction in stimulation. Without that transition, the first stages of sleep may become lighter. Another factor is the constant availability of information. The human brain evolved to process limited streams of sensory input, but modern environments deliver enormous amounts of information. News updates, emails, social media, messages, advertisements. The brain continues processing these signals even after screens are turned off. Thoughts remain active. Mental noise increases. Sleep may arrive, but the brain enters the night already overloaded. Nutrition patterns have also changed. Late night eating has become common in many cultures. Heavy meals, close to bedtime, increase metabolic activity, digestion raises body temperature, but the body needs to cool slightly in order to fall asleep. When metabolism remains active, sleep onset becomes more difficult. Caffeine consumption has also increased dramatically. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors. It reduces the feeling of sleepiness, but it does not remove sleep pressure. The adenosine remains in the brain. When caffeine fades, the accumulated pressure returns. Late caffeine consumption can delay sleep by several hours. Urban environments introduce additional disruptions, noise pollution, artificial lighting, irregular schedules. Even subtle environmental disturbances can fragment sleep. The brain remains slightly alert in unpredictable environments. Deep sleep becomes less stable. Yet, despite all these disruptions, the human brain continues adapting. People still function, they still work, they still learn, but the system operates under strain. Modern life has created an environment where biological rhythms must constantly compete with artificial signals. The brain still expects darkness, but light remains. The brain still expects quiet, but noise continues. The brain still expects rhythm, but schedules change. Sleep itself has not changed. The brain still needs the same cycles of restoration it always did, but the environment surrounding sleep has transformed. Understanding this conflict helps explain why so many people struggle with sleep today. The brain was designed for rhythm. Modern life often replaces rhythm with unpredictability, and the more unpredictable the signals become, the harder the brain must work to maintain balance. Yet even in modern environments, the brain retains its ability to restore rhythm. When light exposure becomes consistent, when evenings become calmer, when sleep schedules stabilize, the circadian clock begins to recover. Melatonin rises naturally, sleep pressure aligns with circadian timing. And slowly, the brain returns to the rhythm it has followed for thousands of years. Because sleep was never meant to compete with modern life, it was meant to support it. Another powerful force shaping modern sleep is the way work has changed. For most of human history, physical labor dominated daily life. Farming, hunting, building, walking, long distances. These activities naturally created physical fatigue. The body used energy throughout the day, and sleep became a natural form of recovery. But many modern jobs are different. They rely primarily on mental effort rather than physical movement. People may sit for long hours staring at screens, solving problems, responding to messages. The brain remains active, but the body often moves very little. This creates an unusual imbalance. Mental fatigue increases, but physical fatigue may remain low. When bedtime arrives, the brain may feel exhausted while the body still feels relatively alert. Falling asleep becomes more difficult. Another modern change involves constant connectivity. In previous generations, the end of the workday usually meant a clear separation between work and rest. When people left their workplace, communication stopped. But today, work often follows people home. Emails arrive late at night. Messages appear on phones. Notifications interrupt quiet moments. Even when people are not actively working, the possibility of interruption remains. This anticipation keeps the brain slightly alert. True mental disengagement becomes rare, and without disengagement, the brain struggles to enter deep sleep. Travel and global communication also influenced sleep. Many people now interact across time zones. Meetings may occur early in the morning or late at night. International travel can shift circadian rhythms by several hours. The brain must repeatedly adjust its internal clock. Frequent changes weaken the stability of sleep cycles. Yet, despite these challenges, the brain still responds to consistent signals. Exposure to morning sunlight, regular sleep schedules, reduced evening stimulation. These simple habits help the circadian system regain stability. The brain's biological clock remains remarkably responsive. When signals become clear again, the rhythm begins to recover. Because even in the modern world, the brain still carries the same ancient expectation: light for waking, darkness for rest, and a predictable rhythm connecting the two. Another subtle way modern life interferes with sleep involves the pace of daily living. Human biology evolved in environments where change happened gradually. Seasons shifted slowly. Days followed predictable patterns. The brain had time to adapt to each transition. But modern environments move at a much faster pace. Information changes constantly, new messages arrive every minute, news updates refresh continuously, social media delivers endless streams of new content. The brain rarely experiences true mental stillness. Even after turning off devices, the mind may continue replaying information. Thoughts remain active. Ideas loop. Questions linger. Sleep requires a slowing of mental activity, but modern lifestyles often keep the brain engaged until the very moment we attempt to sleep. This makes the transition into rest more difficult. Another influence is the modern perception of productivity. In many cultures, sleep is sometimes treated as a luxury rather than a necessity. Long working hours are often associated with dedication. Late nights may be seen as a sign of ambition.